So unfortunately, we move on to Street Fighter Five, and even though opinions are mixed nowadays, back then it was pretty much like not liked at all. So
Really?
yeah,
I was not aware of that. I thought that people really liked it.
the
Um,
biggest thing with Street Fighter Five is that Evo was around the corner, and for whatever reason, Capcom felt like we gotta cash in on this game. I don't care how half baked it is. We need this game out in time so they can play it and get good enough to be at Evo. We want Street Fighter Five at Evo, and they rushed that fucker out with no story mode, very bare bones. Um, the characters had their little, I guess, stories, but they were basically just one or two matches when the computer's like half dead. So there's not really,
I,
you know,
I, I did hear all of that. Yeah, I did hear that it shipped without like a proper story mode, uh, minimal characters, only 16 at its original launch in
yeah,
2016. And yeah, I remember that at launch, the reviews were very mixed. People loved the graphics. They loved the gameplay, but they said, dude, it's barely a full game. I do remember that being the conversation. But uh, by the next 2 years, they were able to incorporate a lot more stuff. Um, between the DLC alone, you got like 30 more characters. You got a proper story mode. So over time, I know the opinion turned around quite a lot.
yeah.
And it started off really rocky, but by the end of it, Street Fighter Five sold over 7 million copies. Street Fighter sold more units than any other home version of Street Fighter. So obviously they overcome the growing pains to get to where they wanted to be, because as rocky as a launch they had, the numbers speak for themselves. The most successful home console version of Street Fighter ever. That includes 2, 4, all of that. That's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're gonna go over the roster here, and it took so long. It's been long since I played. Like I only played Vanilla 5, like maybe once or twice. So technically speaking, I didn't own a PS4. My ex had a PS4, so I rented the game. They're nice enough to let me play for a little bit, but that's it. But so by the time I finally had a PS4, it was already the next one, the Champion Edition or whatever. So, anyways, the original roster was kind of interesting because it brought back some alpha characters, including one that we thought was never going to come back and everything. So we had, of course, Ryu and Ken, Chun-Li, Vega, Zangief, Dhalsim. But then surprisingly, we got the return of Birdie, who gained a lot of weight since the last time he was around from the Alpha series. We got yeah, we got Vega there. We also got Cammy too. We got Bison too. Bison with noticeable whiter hair because his body's starting to, get older and stuff. We got the return of Nash, Charlie Nash, from Guile's friend that died in Street Fighter 2. We got to see him before he died in Alpha. Now he's back in the current storyline because again, this game takes place after 2, after 4, but still before 3.
Yeah, because I was confused about that. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
wait, time out.
Yeah, 5 takes place after 4, but before 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't
So
know.
then we had Rainbow Mika also coming back, and we had Karin also coming back, which is interesting. And then of the 4 new guys, because it seems that they do that, right? There's always like 4 new guys in these games. Even Street Fighter 6 introduced 4 new guys. They always do that. So in this game, the 4 new guys are the amazing and impressive Laura. Reasons, you guys can come up with your reasons. But she fights in
I
the
like Laura.
jiu-jitsu style, and she uses electricity. So she's pretty cool.
Hmm.
I like that she's kind of a tomboy. I like that she's very like rough and tumble, and she's kind of a character that I don't think she's fully aware of how attractive she looks. So she doesn't really act like she's showy. She wants to fight. So then we have Nekali, which is some kind of demonic entity or whatever. There you go. Wait, let me show that beer again.
It's called Guinness, sir. That's an adult beverage right there.
Yep, there we go. So anyways,
His
Nekali
Guinness.
goes after like the souls of powerful fighters or some shit. And he has super long dreadlocks and his hair goes Super Saiyan with one of the V skills. That's interesting. And then we had Rashid with the Scouter. He's a Middle Eastern guy. He's big on technology. He's pretty much the main character of the storyline, sort of. You go by the story of the actual game. And then finally we got Fang, who is the new number two of Shadaloo, because in the story, Sagat was with Shadaloo for a while, but he eventually left because, dishonorable and all that kind of junk. So Fang takes his place, and basically Bison killed his whole clan or whatever, but decided to spare him for XYZ reason, and he deals with poison, so he throws poisons and stuff at the character. That's his fighting style. And he'll finish you in 2 minutes. So those are the main characters there. And as we said before, the game was very incomplete. But I do like that back then, some people did like the characters and the online play and the fighting. And most people were saying the whole thing about, oh, who cares about arcade mode? Like, it's this the fighting, the fighting, the online, the rank, the tournaments, that's where it's at. And I remember there were discussions back then saying is arcade mode even needed anymore? Do fighting games still need that? Is that like an old thing that needs to die? Because, no.
See, right there, there's two huge reasons why I've never played Street Fighter V ever. And I wish I had, but it's 8 years and I still haven't played it. But here's the thing, brother. First of all, we hinted at this throughout the entire episode, but the fact that it was a PS4 exclusive, also Windows, but they decided it would be more profitable for both sides to cut Microsoft out of the equation and only release on PS4. Now, I bought an Xbox One because it was $100 cheaper. I'm not a brand loyalist by any means. I had, at the time, every intention of getting a PS4, but I bought an Xbox One. And all of a sudden, I felt punished for that decision, and it made me annoyed at Sony and Capcom for this. Now, obviously, like I said, it worked out very well for them because despite what you might think, well, they're limiting themselves. They're cutting off millions of potential buyers by excluding the Xbox people. They still sold more copies of Street Fighter V than any other console Street Fighter by a lot. 7 million copies. So obviously it worked out for them, but it pissed me off because I wanted to play the game. And I was like, well, I already have an Xbox One. So if I want to play Street Fighter V, it's going to cost me $400 fucking dollars. And I just didn't want to play that one game badly enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's why I waited till Black Friday to get my PS4. And that was still like a couple of years down the line.
Yeah, it was just, I wanted to say that it hurt them to cut off the Xbox people, but it didn't. It didn't hurt them at all. So obviously it was the right decision, but I don't think it was the right decision. It pissed me the fuck off. But then besides that, like what you were saying with, oh, is arcade mode even necessary or this and that? I've said this before. Every time we do one of these fighting podcasts, I've said the same thing over and over and over again. I'm the most casual motherfucker with these games that you will possibly meet. What makes me buy all the stuff after Soul Calibur, from Soul Calibur today, I make it a point, not just because my wife likes fighting games, but because I want to play them too. Ever since Soul Calibur, I made a point to buy these fighting games because they finally figured out how to do strong single-player content, whether it's just an arcade mode or story mode. I don't like playing against other people. I am fine playing against the computer. I will play against the computer for weeks at a time. I will drown in that shit gladly. I don't care about playing against another person. That's not my interest. But if you give me a strong single-player experience on a Street Fighter game or a Mortal Kombat game or a Soul Calibur game, I am all the way with you because I can develop at my own pace. I can have fun at my own pace. It's the kind of thing where I could just play it as a game and not a sport. I can be very relaxed about it. Soul Calibur 2 is the game that made me love fighting games because there was so much single-player content and you could do a little bit or a lot of it. You could unlock everything or you could just try to unlock weapons for this one character. And it was so much fun. And then other fighting games started doing this strong single-player content, whether it's story mode or arcade mode. and it just makes me love them more. Mortal Kombat did this to great effect. So when people ask, oh, is the single player mode even necessary anymore since we have online mode? I'm telling you, it is necessary because I will not be enticed to buy your fighting game by an online mode I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play it. I don't like playing against other people. But give me 50 or 60 hours of single player content. Make me master all these individual fighters, get their endings, unlock things for each of these guys, and make me want to do this over and over and over again for weeks at a time. And I will love your franchise forever. That's what made me a fan of Soul Calibur. That's what made me a fan of Mortal Kombat. When they started really focusing on the strong single-player experience, that's what made me a fan of a genre I'm not even fucking good at. I'm not even good at fighting games, but I've come to love them. And it's because of that new focus over the last 20 years on that single-player content. So I think the attitude that the online mode is all you need is very short-sighted. I think it's wrong. I think it's goddamn wrong because there's nothing for me in that. And yeah, that's selfish. I'm not saying don't have an online mode, but I'm saying you definitely have to have that arcade mode. And if you can have a story mode, even better. Just, why would you argue against more content? That's what I'll never understand. You should always want more because they can give you more. So you should not be saying, oh, this isn't necessary. Who gives a shit? You could just say, how can we make all of this better? How can we make it bigger? Obviously, it matters. I mean, God.
Yeah. I
I have
think
to
the
agree with
discussion
Rikki
back
Roxx.
then, oh, sorry. I was gonna say I think the discussion back then was because back then we thought that's just how the game was gonna be, and maybe Street Fighter is always kind of trailblazer. Maybe other games are gonna follow suit. But obviously, that got fixed later when they did add a story mode and stuff like that. But
Oh, that's right. They didn't have that really. Yeah, that's how I agree with Rikki Roxx on that one. Like for me personally, I'm not good at fighting games. So personally, I just like going against a computer. I'm fine with that because I'm more interested in this character story as opposed to who I'm fighting against.
mhm.
I'm very story driven, and you guys should know that because I'm an RPG person.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm more into story and all that stuff. So
But Jupes gets to see personally that I like fighting online, and
No,
you get to see
yeah,
my
to me, it's frustrating. Now, for me, it's really frustrating. Well, it was nice that you like to fight online, but I want to see the character story.
yeah.
That's what I'm more interested in.
But what do you think though? Like seeing how I either win or suffer during all those because you're watching my streams and stuff.
what I love
Oh,
about you,
I'm usually going like, oh,
see,
stop
now
jumping in, stay back, play defensively, block. I'm like that.
I am in awe of the stuff I see people do online. Don't get me wrong. There's people who are masters at these games, and I love them for it. I could never do it. I'm not interested in even wading into those waters. That's just me.
Mm-mm.
For me, I'm wise enough to stay in my lane. My lane is the single player experience, and
Yeah, same. If I ever do actually play a fighting game, I am definitely a single player person. I just rather go against computer. I want to play through the game. I want to see what this character's story is,
and I'm
and
not
all
even
that other stuff because I have more interest in that.
I'm not even that hard to please. I just like seeing all the little endings for each guy, and their little blurb at the beginning and at the end, and even when it's simple, like in some of the older games. But yeah, and then you have games like Shaolin Monks where they add the strong single player content, and
Now, that's a game I actually wish I would have played, but I never actually had it.
I do have it. I haven't played it. My wife played it. Yeah, like it's really meant to be played co-op, but you can play it single player as well. But just as an action fighter brawler with RPG elements based on a fighting game, it was pretty revolutionary all its own, and people said it was executed really well. I would love something like that for Street Fighter. Absolutely. Just a game where you're running around fighting guys in like a 3D brawler beat 'em up style, and then maybe for like boss fights it goes to a fighting game, because that's what they were talking about with the Street Fighter 4 demo that never got made. But You know, Shaolin Monks did it great for Mortal Kombat. I would love a game like that for Street Fighter. Just expand the lore, develop the characters in a linear way that makes sense, not just like you have to play two, then three, then or two, then four, then five, then three, and all that shit.
Yeah. So
And that's a fact.
the new mechanics we got here, the most noticeable one, we got the V trigger and we got the V skill. And the V skill is basically if you press the medium punch and kick at the same time, each character has an interesting like little specific gimmick that they can do that's unique for characters. For example, try to think here.
Beta.
Laura does a move where she kind of like runs and then does like I guess she does a crescent kick or something, and that usually catches people off guard because you have to block like high and it hits you if you're blocking low and stuff like that. I think Ryu does like his version of the Street Fighter 3 parry with that. And I think Birdie throws like random food, like banana peels and junk that makes the characters trip and stuff like that. So everyone has like specific little things they can only do with that, you know. Those are the ones that come off the top of my head. I can't remember all of them. But then you also have the V trigger, and I'm thinking, I wonder if Kenny Omega got that from that. But anyway, the V trigger
Yes, thanks.
gauge is full. Each character has like a more, I guess, a more powerful specific skill, but it only lasts until the power, until the bar empties out, you know? So in Chun-Li's case, all her attacks double. So if she hits you with a kick, it's like two kicks, you know? So if she does her combos, it's like double the damage because it's double the
Right,
kick punches or whatever.
She's a pain in the ass anyway.
Yeah. Then skipping ahead, Ibuki throws a giant ass shuriken that goes forward and then comes back. So if you're not watching out for that, you know what I mean? And try to remember just examples. I can't think of examples offhand. Oh, I think Sakura, her fists get more powerful. So like her fireballs, her uppercut do more damage during that time. Um, Stuff like that. Zangief's moves become more powerful and everything. Oh, I like one. There's one where there's an announcer talking behind him just out of nowhere when he's doing his moves. And any move he does more damage during that moment. And the announcer's like, oh my God, oh, it's incredible. It's a spinning power driver. Like that kind of crap. So, oh,
Sorry.
Rainbow Mika throws a wrestling chair at you and stuff for her. You got to watch out for that shit. So
Wrestling representation matters.
Yeah.
Wrestling representation matters.
Yeah. So let me just say real quick, I'm going to go through the things because Street Fighter 5 started with what all the fighting games do now with the season 1, season 2 passes and stuff. So just going real quick, the first season threw in Alex from Street Fighter 3, Balrog, Guile, Ibuki, Judy, and Urien from Street Fighter 3. Now, season 2 was interesting because season 2, and I like that. I kind of missed that. I guess we'll do that too as Street Fighter 6 as they start coming out. But I like the announcement trailers for each different character because it just gets you hyped up. So when season 2 came out, this was interesting because they were saying that these characters for this season are characters that exist within the lore, but they were never actually like selectable characters. So they're not exactly new per se. They're just new in a sense that now you can pick them, you know. So we had Akuma, which I don't think that counts. Akuma was pickable, but we got Ed. Ed was the little kid that has psycho power that Balrog found in the Street Fighter 4 endings. So I don't know if you've seen, if you beat the game of Balrog just yet. He finds this kid with psychic powers and stuff. So in Street Fighter 5, he comes back all grown up and more buff and with more psycho powers. And he fights a mixture between using psycho powers and, of course, some boxing moves because, you know, he was raised by Balrog, you know. We got this girl using ice powers who is named Colin, who actually turns out to be Seth's secretary, no, Gil's secretary from Street Fighter 3. If you remember Street Fighter 3, one of his win poses, secretary kind of comes up to him or whatever. That's her now. So that's kind of cool. Menaz is a fortune teller girl that appears in some of the story modes of the other characters, so now she's selectable. Zeku is the master, the what do you call it? What is it? The Bushinryu master that trained Guy from Final Fight. He appeared in some of the endings in the Alpha game, so now he's in the game, you know? And the one that caused the most controversy of all was Abigail from Final Fight because he got redrawn as this super gigantic ass muscular guy. His head actually touches the life bar, but his head's like small. But the thing that pissed everyone off is that most of these trailers were done at the tournaments, the Evos and Capcoms and those, you know. So most of the reason people like to watch the tournaments isn't so much to see the people play, but it's also because that's where you're gonna find out the trailers of the new Tekken people, the new Soul Calibur people, you know, the announcement that what's it called? This game's coming out or that game's coming, you know, that kind of crap. So
That's all above me because I'm not really immersed in the culture at all.
yeah,
I just play the games. I don't know anything about people who play the games at
yeah.
all.
Well, the thing is
Don't
that
worry, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
well, anyways, the thing is, that particular night, I remember they were showing all these trailers. I remember the one that got the biggest pop, as you'll say in the wrestling world, was Geeth Howard in Tekken 7. Like, holy shit, you know, from Fatal Fury, you know. But anyways, when it came to Street Fighter, they just announced Abigail, and everybody was like, that's it. Yeah, so that didn't wow anyone. That was like a big bomb there, you know. And he was like the last guy to season. Usually the last guy to end the season is supposed to be the most epic, like holy shit, you know, kind of thing.
Ridge Racer,
Yep.
remember that one?
Oh God, yep. So they announced they released Street Fighter V Arcade Edition, and that
That was a
one
deep cut right
had
there.
all the
That was a
characters.
deep cut.
What now?
That was a deep cut.
Yeah, I know, I know. But anyways, Street Fighter V Arcade Edition had all the characters from season 1 and 2, but this is the part that's kind of like bullshit. Um, the game is basically the same Street Fighter 5 disc with a code, and you got to put the code in to unlock that shit. I was like, oh, this is such bullshit. You know what I mean? But anyways, you get the season 1 and 2 characters. They added arcade mode, the typical arcade mode, and it's cool because now there's multiple arcade modes because you can play Street Fighter 1, 2, Alpha, 3, and 4, and 5 depending on the characters. Because, you know, if you pick Ryu, he's in all of them. But if you pick, like, let's say, Birdie, he's only going to appear in the Street Fighter 1, Street Fighter Alpha, and Street Fighter 5 story. And it's cool because they all have multiple endings, and the endings are in different parts of the character's lives. So that's pretty cool. You know, you see younger Ryu, older Ryu. You see Birdie when he was thinner, stuff like that. It's like God before he got the scar, that kind of thing. And I like
I'm
how
sorry. I'm sorry. That is not Birdie in Street Fighter 4 or 5. That's all I have to say. That is not Birdie. He learned he ate Birdie. So no, that is not Birdie to me.
I like how the versus screens for those imitate, like, they got remixed versions of the Street Fighter 1 versus music, the Street Fighter 2 versus music, all that kind of stuff. I like the vibe. And I also like
Oh, and I
that,
like the Street Fighter 1 music.
yeah. And, you know, like, yeah, you play the Street Fighter 1, Sagat's the boss. You play, you know, Street Fighter 2, Bison's the boss. It's kind of cool. I like how they do that. So that's kind of clever, you know? So, and also they added a full-on story mode, like a cinematic story mode alongside the arcade mode. So they gave you all that stuff for the people that wanted the single-player content. And there's so many characters in the game, and so many, I haven't beaten them all because it's just too many, you know? And
Yeah, I mean, by the end of it, it was 46, I think. 46 characters. Once they finally
yeah.
got the complete...
That's not
So
other
as we
problem
continue
fighting
real quick, let me just get through them real quick. We got Blanca, we got Falk. It was just a woman that used the psycho power through her weapons, so she only channeled it through her weapons as far as I can tell. We got G, who's the president of the world. That's kind of funny. We got Sagat, we got Sakura, and the most interesting one, we got Cody, who is the mayor of Metro City now. And the thing about the trailer, when it had the trailer, Kenny Omega was acting as Cody, picking up the phone or whatever. And the guy on the phone that's saying, hey, you know, turn on your TV. That was Xavier Woods' voice over the phone.
Oh, dude.
And Kenny Omega actually gets up, grabs like a lead pipe and like walks out, you know.
How could Cody has a criminal record, sir. How could he be mayor of anything?
Well, you know, Hagar probably pulled some strings. So season
There's a
4,
hole in the string pulling.
Yeah, especially about his relationship with Poison. I mean, this guy, is he fit to run for office? Let's just be honest.
So season 4, they released Street Fighter
Oh,
Champion
no sell it. That's
Edition, which
fine.
brought in the
That's
bosses.
fine. Just no sell it.
Okay, guys. So Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition was the final version of Street Fighter 5. So there's no Ultra Street Fighter 5 or nothing. It just ended with Champion Edition. And
The
they brought
Championship
in the
Edition
last.
that came out Valentine's Day 2020. What a gift.
Yeah.
Yet right before we got slammed with the pandemic, we at least got the best version of Street Fighter 5.
Oh, there's stuff about the pandemic there I got to bring up. So anyway, they brought it. Season 4 brings in the last remaining World Warrior that was not in the game. Honda's been forgotten, so they bring back Honda. They bring a guy named Kage who is like an evil Ryu, but I guess it's like the disembodied evil Ryu. So it's not him.
But
It's actually
Kage,
a demon shadow.
well, Kage in Japanese does mean shadow.
Yeah, so that's basically it. Poison's in there. Lucia from Final Fight 3 of all games is back in action. And to really sell it for, because, you remember the original Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, the bosses were selectable. So in this game,
Yeah.
to really sell it, because we already got Bison in the game, we got Sagat in the game. Now they have Seth from Street Fighter 4, back in the game, and the new female body and everything. And we also got Gil, the boss from Street Fighter 3, back in the game.
Well,
Now, the final thing is rumors were starting that they were going to work on Street Fighter 6. Pandemic happened, and that delayed everything. So we actually got a surprise 5th season that was never planned. And so, we wouldn't have gotten these extra characters if it wasn't for the pandemic. So during the time that, pandemic was going on and the world's kind of, grinding to a halt, they released Dan Hibiki, finally back in action. They released 11, which is kind of like a character version of random select. So he basically morphs into the characters. He has no moves of his own. If you pick him, it's random select. He'll randomly morph into one of the other characters. So that really tests your skills, like how good are you, because you don't know who you're going to be,
That's pretty cool though, man, because I usually, when I do play these games, if I have time, I try to get good at everybody. And, I try to at least beat it with everybody once.
Yeah.
And that's always really part of the fun for me, seeing how similar everybody is, seeing the differences between everybody. I really like to do that when I can. So that kind of a character would appeal to me. Like I would play them after playing everybody else and be like, okay, yeah, let's test my memory here. And let's see if I remember the special moves for this guy or this guy. So yeah, that would be pretty interesting. I dig that. That's a neat idea.
The lore-wise, he's supposed to be like the incomplete version before they released 12 in Street Fighter 3 and everything. So you also get Oro from Street Fighter 3. You get Rose from Street Fighter Alpha. You also get Akira, a cameo character from the Rival School series. And of course, the grand finale, because, the announcements and stuff, the guy who was working on Street Fighter 5 was saying that the character that's coming up next will be the upcoming main character for Street Fighter 6. And that was, of course, Luke. So that was like our sneak peek to see Luke in Street Fighter 5 before he would appear in Street Fighter 6 and everything. And so that was like the whole thing. So other things, they released stages with each season's pass. They had all these different costumes and different things. So I like that some of them were free. They had like a season where they released like tracksuits for everyone. So all the characters got tracksuits and they were just free. You just download them and stuff. There was like I guess breast cancer DLC thing. So Ryu and Chun-Li wore like these pink and white specific outfits for a limited time. But the thing I like the most that's pretty cool, that's kind of like I guess leaving your mark in the game is like you, how can I say this? They have the Capcom Cup. I think it's Capcom Cup. It makes the most sense because that's Capcom sanctioned. But they have Capcom Cup tournaments, right? And you got all these people playing. So the thing that they do is that whoever like is the final, whoever's the champion, aside from of course getting money, getting the trophy and all that shit, the character that they used to win the game, that final match or whatever that they won, like Capcom works with them to let them make a costume for that character And that is fucking awesome. So like we had Rashid wearing like this baseball outfit because that was that guy winner's idea. The one that made me kind of laugh, not really laugh, but it was just funny, is that this one dude won with Laura a couple of years ago. I think it was like one of the very last ones. He won with Laura. And it was kind of interesting because he actually was using Poison too, but Poison came out very recently. So that was like a gamble, using a character you're not that experienced in. But his costume idea was a schoolgirl outfit for Laura. And I was thinking, wow, all these years and Capcom didn't think of that one? Like, you had to have one of these guys go with that idea? Because they were giving schoolgirl outfits to like Jury and Rainbow Mika and all that. With Laura, you think it would be a shoe-in. But anyways, the one I like the most is kind of cool is Birdie got this kind of styling outfit, but the guy who won the tournament, his name is Menard or his, screen name, whatever. Birdie has a chain that says Menard on it. And that's fucking epic, dude. Like, if I ever won something like that, I would want my character to wear some kind of bracelet or something that says Mark R on it or some shit. Because that's like immortalizing yourself in the game, dude. That's fucking awesome. And then the game also had skins and references. They had Mega Man skins where Balrog looks like Gutsman, Ryu looked like Mega Man. Can't remember. It was Gutsman, Mega Man. Rashid was Airman, makes sense with the air and stuff. And Sakura looked like Roll, but Roll from Mega Man Legends. And you can unlock like their music. So when you're fighting Balrog as Gutsman, the original Gutsman Mega Man 1 NES theme is playing in the background.
That's awesome.
And they had others, they had Darkstalker ones. They had one where I think it's Gil. Gil looks like Pyron from Darkstalkers. Jury was given the skin to look like Lilith from Darkstalkers and stuff like that. There were other games too, but I don't remember offhand. I know there was, Resident Evil. They had Tammy dressed up as Joe Valentine, and I think Bob was dressed up as, what's her name? Ada Wong and all. I remember Ken was dressed up as Dante from Don't Make Cry. So they had a lot of like crossover type things, you know what I mean?
That's incredible.
Yeah, they really went all out. That's why I'm looking forward to Street Fighter 6. They already got some cool outfits for Street Fighter 6. I want to get that. They have Zangief dressed up all nice and classy with a suit and everything. I'm like, oh, I want that one. You know what I mean?
I wish I had any personal memories of Street Fighter V, but I don't because it was a PS4 exclusive. I know it didn't hurt them at all, but it certainly hurt me.
They had Street Fighter 5 with a Macho Man-ish outfit. Zangief, I mean.
Obviously they did great with it. Over 7 million copies sold. Best-selling version of Street Fighter ever on a console. But, they shut me and a bunch of people out, so I still haven't played it. Hopefully one day. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wish I've admired it from afar. I think it's neat looking, but I have no personal memories of it, unfortunately. But it is what it is.
For me, that was the first game that really got super heavily, though, into the online play. I played a bit of Street Fighter 4 here and there and stuff, but with Street Fighter 5, that was the one where I got in there, and that was the one where I usually, obviously you have your off days too, whatever, but that's where I can, I get an amount of wins and losses, and not just nonstop losses, as sometimes Jupi can see I get the win streaks here and there, especially with Laura and everything.
Laura,
at least the way I use Laura, I use her because she's kind of a grappler of sorts, so I use her kind of like a rushdown character. She throws electric sparks, and they kind of slowly move across the screen. So of course, while the character's busy blocking or dodging, he can attack them and stuff and everything. So she's cool,
Well, I
for
think
me, Street Fighter 5. Oh, I would say for me, playing Street Fighter 5, I've only played it, like I said, I've only played it once. And it's when I was staying, yeah, I'm not gonna get into that. But anyway, I was playing with a guy that I know, and they had a PS4, and it was fun because I said I hadn't played a Street Fighter game since a little bit. I played in the arcade of Street Fighter 4 in Japan, and I was back over here at that time. So it was around about early 2020, because we went to this thing together and stayed someplace. But anyway, so we were playing, and it was fun. I was looking at all the characters, and my brain pretty much imploded because there were just too many of them. said, okay, where are the characters that I knew? You know? So I went with Vega and of course Ryu because like I said, I like Ryu because he's like base, you
Yep.
know, but I kind of had fun playing with Vega and I actually beat him with Vega, which was a shock because I suck at fighting games. But then again, he doesn't play much either, so we were pretty much on the same level. It's like me playing chess with somebody, you know? My chess playing skills are terrible. But if I play somebody on my level or level, you know, it kind of balances out.
Mm.
But it was kind of fun. But of course, we were just playing like versus mode. So of course, we didn't get like the story mode or anything like that. And we are just trying to find something to do before we could, you know, before going to bed and stuff. So
Any
and now
thoughts, Johnny? I mean, I know you've only seen it like I guess the few times you come to visit me, more or less. So, any thoughts on those times or?
Street Fighter 5 is like the most rehashed game of the franchise, besides the original Street Fighter 2. With all the DLC characters keep getting added on and on and on. I mean, that's
Yeah, but that's all fighting games nowadays, though, Johnny.
yeah, but
You gotta
back
take it
then,
back.
I think Street Fighter 5 kind of, I don't know. To me, it felt like they did it first before everybody else jumped into the
You gotta
bandwagon.
bend over. That's how it is now. You gotta bend over.
I
But
guess in all honesty, because of the pandemic, that gave me more of a reason to keep adding the DLC, you know, to give people something to do.
It gives
But you know, I'm not against the idea either because I feel like it's a good idea because Street Fighter 5 was still a good game on its own, and then like pretty much every so and so years, it's like okay, there's gonna be new DLC, this DLC, that. So it actually adds more value to the game, and it's better to have a Street Fighter 5 that all you have to do is just wait for a few, I don't know, few months or a few years for the new DLC thing to happen. You purchase it, and then boom, you get new characters, and
See,
it's like
a lot of people
it
do
adds a lot of
prefer that.
gameplay,
A
huh?
lot of people do prefer that model of just, well, instead of getting a whole new game, I would rather just have a couple new characters every couple of years. Now, it's not everybody's favorite, but some people like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
like
don't
Street
think it's
Fighter 2 back in the day.
But what I remember for Street Fighter 5, besides that, is that the. Well, I hope my audio sounds good, guys.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay. What I do remember about Street Fighter 5 is that obviously the graphics are going to be better than what Street Fighter 4 graphics were, and the game seemed to. It felt like the game played a lot faster,
Mm-hmm.
and the controls were a lot better. And, you know, the characters animated better.
That's interesting. Now, I definitely, like I said, I heard even at the very beginning that the graphics and especially the gameplay were huge hits with people, in spite of everything else that they said may have been faulty or less than. But like you said, the graphics, the presentation, and the gameplay especially seem to have been big hits right from the beginning.
And the music, I think the soundtrack of Street Fighter 5 is pretty good. Like I like the soundtrack.
That's always worth talking about with these games because it's something I feel people don't talk about enough, but it can definitely immerse you more in the entire experience of a game, whether you really even notice it or not. But, you know, like I said, there's games where I am fine playing them on mute at 4 in the morning. There's times when I want to have my headphones on. And some games you definitely want to have your headphones on. A lot of the Street Fighter games, you want to have your headphones on. You don't want to play it on mute.
Yeah. And it's pretty epic. I like the music. Almost everyone has a real cool remix of their classic tunes. The only one I didn't really care for was Jury's music. It was too subdued compared to the original. But everyone else is pretty cool. I like the characters, like you know, all their catchphrases and all their comments and things. I like G, because G's like the quote unquote president of the world. He's got the Lincoln hat and everything. His final screen, he actually wins doing the whole you Uncle Sam pose, you know. And just this voice almost sounds like a Lincolnish like type voice and everything. And I like I will fight you. Why? Because it is my duty and all that. And when he grabs you, he's like pardon me, grabs your fucking, does a backbreaker on your ass and everything. And the part I like is his super. He raises his hand and fire comes out from the ground and juggles you. But the thing is, before he does it, like this, the whole cinematic, he's all light it up, and then like the fire just comes up and everything. It's epic. It's epic. I like his
So I'll get it on that.
I like how characters, some characters, just, back in the older days, most characters, they just, have their little scream when they die, and that's it. But these newer games, even 4, adds a couple of, like, lines, like the one that's the funniest one is Guy in Street Fighter 4, because when he dies, loses, whatever you want to call it, he just says, profound sadness as he falls over.
Now that's something real quick. We didn't really touch on it too much in any of our other discussions of Street Fighter up to this point. But those post-match scenes, all the way back to Street Fighter 2, with the guy looking all beat up and the smack talk. Like, let's be real, man. It almost made losing fun, seeing some of the stuff you would see, and it's an element that they managed to really develop and carry over. Yeah, it's an understated element, to be sure, of Street Fighter, but I think it's a big part of it nonetheless. I mean, those post-fight versus scenes, we didn't talk about it really, but they made an impact for sure, right from the very beginning. Whether you won or lost, those post-fight scenes were very amusing, very entertaining, and they kept you interested, even if you lost. It was something to see. It was funny, and we didn't mention it, so I figured I'd mention it now because you kind of mentioned that how they would do in 5 they would do that. But yeah, that's a big element of the entire series, I think, that people don't really talk about, but it's a big hook.
I have one thing to add. One thing I want to add to what he just said. What strength? Don't forget, guys like all over the world.
And you mentioned that in the last one too.
Yeah.
That's such a
I can't help it. I love it. I still love it to this day.
Well, I do like the ending things, and some of them go with the personalities, because Balrog's always all about the money. So when he loses, he's like, my fight money! As he like falls out and stuff. Rolento wants to basically shape the world in his image or whatever. So he's like, my utopia! As he falls out and stuff. And Laura's like, but why? When she loses, that's funny. And there was another one that was kind of like funny like that. But the my fight money always gets me,
Well, unfortunately, I don't have any personal memories of Street Fighter 5, but hopefully, the plan is I definitely will play it one day.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten to it yet, unfortunately, but
Interesting roster, I would have to say, for that game. I mean, looking on, I'm only watching Mark play, so yeah, it does have an interesting roster, and I really do wish I look forward to being able to play it myself just to try it with Ibuki and Laura.
Oh, one thing I do want to say that Street Fighter 4 started and the other games kind of followed suit is that they also added the thing that the characters' poses are different depending on like their health level and stuff. So if you beat someone, like, let's say, maybe you just got a hit or two, whatever, your character's all like, yeah, whatever. But if you like just barely won the match, your character's like, oh, that was a tough fight. Kind of thing. So I kind of like that kind of,
Oh, yeah, little things like that go a long way with me, for sure.
But 4 started that one too, oh, it was a difficult fight and all that kind of thing. And also Street Fighter 4 started the whole pre-fight little animation thing. Street Fighter was always a bit bland compared to the other games with stuff, So now they started with the little pre-fight things, and I like how there's references and stuff, like in Street Fighter 4, Ryu's intro was the answer lies in the heart of battle and all that. And I like that because sometimes the cons, the guy would be like, thank you for coming, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And remember, everyone, the answer lies in the heart of battles. Everyone kind of, marks out for that. And I like how Ryu as a character is not really too adept to modern technology because he basically just lives off the land and travels and XYZ. So there was a reference in Street Fighter 6, which we'll get into in a bit, where part of his story, he's looking stuff. He's like, I must figure out how to use this device. I believe the answer lies in the internet. And this was like a callback to that line.
He's like Johnny. He's like Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah.
You ever watch Cobra Kai?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Pretty good show. I like that it turned out because there were always doubts, because oh my god, another reboot or whatever. But it was a good show.
At least it was more of a continuation than a reboot. So
it is one of the most amazing things that's ever been put on television. It's just an amazing gift to the audience. I mean, I've only seen the first 2 seasons, and I can say that I need to catch up. But yeah, oh my God, what an amazing show.
Yeah. So let me just say real quick, I guess the storyline of Street Fighter 5 is kind of all over the place, sort of, but the main thing is that Bison is yet again back, because Bison's overall story throughout the series, at least once we got more lore, I think the Alpha established that, because Street Fighter 2, he was just, I'm the bad guy, it's got to stop me, whatever. But Alpha started the concept that Bison's power has gone so strong that his body can't contain it. And that's why he needs a new body, which is why he always has like the Shadaloo doll clones. He wants to use Cammy, he wants to use Seth and all them other characters. And that's the retcon explanation of, wait, hold on.
I got to go on a fetch quest. You go ahead and keep explaining that, but I'll be back.
Okay.
I have to go on a fetch quest.
Okay.
Keep explaining that. I'll be back.
Yeah. So I'll just add that that's the retcon explanation of why Bison was so buff and beefy in the Alpha games, and he can do like teleports and other such moves, and why Bison was thinner in the Street Fighter 2 games and couldn't do the teleports or whatever because that's his different body. And so Street Fighter 5, now he has another, I don't know if it's his original body from 4, or he's just getting older because, again, he has the gray hair now and everything. And he was supposed to like set up satellites or whatever and wipe out the world's power. I don't know what his evil plot was, but Rashid had to stop him. And there's lots of little plot threads here and there. Characters were kidnapped. Rashid was sent to rescue one of his kidnapped friends. Chun-Li was sent to investigate because, Bison, but that's where she finds Li Fen. So Li Fen was a kid character in Street Fighter, whatever, Street Fighter 5. Should we see her like more older in Street Fighter 6?
6, yeah.
Yeah. And then the thing is that once all the stuff with Bison ends, like Colin goes to report to Gil, that's kind of like, oh yeah, Shadow has been taken down. He's like, oh excellent, now I can fulfill the prophecy and all that kind of crap. So that kind of leads into Street Fighter 3 and their story, because of course that was like the whole cult thing, and Gil is the prophet and all that kind of crap, And then the minor side tangent is that with Shadaloo being gone, Ed and Falk want to start like their Neo Shadaloo, which is I guess more heroic faction of it or whatever, kind of reclaiming their lives back. And we'll see what happens in Street Fighter 6, because whenever Ed appears there, I'm sure we're gonna hear some more of his plot. All right, guys, now we're gonna wrap it up with Street Fighter 6. Not too much to say.
What happened? You wouldn't believe what happened. I was on a fetch quest. I seen a little old lady standing at the fork in the road. I gave her a gold coin and she gave me a handkerchief, and I gave the handkerchief to a lady working at the bar and she gave me one of these things. It was amazing.
That sounds like one of the Legend of Zelda type things. We gotta do this and that.
You ever play role-playing games? It was exactly like that.
My goodness. So anyways,
This is a health potion. This is Baltimore Blonde by Guinness. This is a health potion. I was on a fetch quest.
Oh boy. Okay, so we're gonna go with Street Fighter 6 now, and the whole thing of Street Fighter 6 is that this is like the new generation now. It takes place after Street Fighter 3. The characters are drawn with a more realistic style. And also, everyone's older now because, it takes place after Street Fighter 3. So everyone's older now. Everyone's moving on. The biggest plot point is that Ken has been framed for doing, like, terrorist activity by JP, and he's on the run trying to clear his name and everything. So I guess JP is kind of sort of like the boss of that game. He's a mysterious guy that shows hints of working for Shadaloo and everything. And I'll just go through the roster real quick. I'll mention the DLC characters. And then, like I said, we'll do a thing where each of us will pick. We'll go like one by one, turn by turn, but we'll try to, basically we'll look back on this in a year or so and see who was right, who was wrong. You know what I mean? But so basically, the game we're going to play here, I'm going to name the roster for the guys that aren't up to date on the characters so far. But
yeah, Street Fighter 6 just came out last year, right?
Yeah. Now, there's another thing about Street. Yeah, let me get into that before we get there. So, Street Fighter 6 already has a bit of misfires that people are complaining about and everything. So, first of all, the game has this big world tour mode, where it's an interactive open world mode. You create your own character and you live in the world of Street Fighter and Metro City with Final Fight and stuff. You run into Final Fight characters. All the established characters are masters. You can actually train under Chun-Li and Ryu and whoever else, and you can mix and match your character's moves. So you can make yourself use like Chun-Li's helicopter kick, but Ryu's fireball. You know what I mean?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's a pretty in-depth thing. I still have to finish it. But the cool thing is, when they add new characters, each character gets a new section, so the story isn't quite over yet. So that's kind of cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, replay value to that. And there's also a Battle Hub mode where you can play like the old arcades. They got like Street Fighter 2, they got Final Fight. I think they're going to have Captain Commando. So you can play those games.
Can we just for a second? I love Final Fight. I don't know if anybody else does, but I really love it.
Oh, we love it.
Okay, good. To disagree is to be wrong. I love Final Fight. I mostly played on Super Nintendo, but I've also downloaded the arcade version for Xbox Live Arcade, so I played the original and beaten it. So yeah, I think it's a great game, and I am glad that it's included in the Street Fighter lore and the Street Fighter universe. I think Final Fight's awesome. I've only played the first game, unfortunately, because the Super Nintendo sequels are kind of expensive, but they're on reproduction carts, so I really have no excuse anymore. I really should play them, but I really should buy them. I will. But yeah, I love that Final Fight is part of the Street Fighter canon. To me, that's just awesome. Capcom tying it all together, keeping it real. I love them do stuff like that. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So, like I said, the DLC's been kind of disappointing a bit. Not the characters and stuff, but they're doing weird cross promotions, because the thing is, a lot of the extra stuff is focused a lot on the World Hub and the Battle Hub thing, because the Battle Hub thing has a thing where you can have your avatar character fight against someone else's avatar character and that. So their first promotion was with the Ninja Turtles, so you could unlock, skins that look like the four turtles. But the thing is that it's not on the base game or online. It's only in that Battle Hub mode. And I forgot how much they cost back then, but they were expensive. I think it was like $10 for a skin. And that's like for a skin. So you have to pay, $10 for Leo, $10 for Mikey, $10 for Pat, that shit.
I can see why people would have a short amount of patience for that.
Yeah. And then they had a recent one, I think it expired now. They had a recent one where they crossed over with this anime called Spy X Family that's supposed to be very popular nowadays. And it's the same thing. You have this female character, I think her name is Yor, but instead of her being an extra character or a skin for Chun-Li or something, it's again only in the Battle Hub. So, so after those two misfires, I kind of have a feeling that if they do a third something else, let's say, we're going to bring an AEW crossover, no one's going to care because it's going to be like, just for the Battle Hub, I guess, that kind of thing. And they also released new costumes for the characters, but the thing is you got to use actual currency and you have to buy like in-game currency. But the problem is the cost of them, like, how do I explain this? It's like, I think they're called like drive tickets or whatever. But the thing is, let's say, okay, so the costumes cost like, I'm just going numbers because I don't know the exact numbers. But the problem is that the costumes cost like 300 drive tickets. I'm saying an example. But when you buy them, you only get 200 drive tickets. So you can't buy a costume. You have to buy at least two of those things to get two costumes because the amounts don't match up. You can't buy a round for one costume. So people are kind of, they're kind of pissed off about that too. It's kind of like it's forcing you to double dip, So those are the misfires so far I've been hearing. Everything else has been positive and stuff, but the DLC thing is what's fucking thing up and everything. But so like I said, right now I'm gonna list all the characters that are in the game so far, and we'll just each of us will go one by one, and we'll name a character that we want in the game as future DLC, and we'll come back next year or so and see who was right, who's wrong. You know.
Fair enough.
All right. So far, just for people that didn't know, the game has the original 8 characters. So that's, Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Dhalsim, Honda, Zangief, Blanca. Yeah, them. Then they also added Jury. So Jury's back in action. We have, let me see who else. Cammy. Cammy's back in action. Luke was introduced in part 5. And then the new characters, we got a ninja girl named Kimberly, who was actually unofficially trained by Guy. I think she wants to be his pupil, but Guy hasn't officially taken her in, but she's whatever. And the thing is, she's into 90s stuff. She starts her Walkman. She's into dancing. And one of her supers, she starts dancing and rocking with her Walkman, so that's pretty cool. And she also fights using spray paint. So she's like a ninja with spray paint and with dancing. There you go. Then we have Manon, who is Taekwondo ballet supermodel dancer girl. She has very long legs and long arms and stuff. She could grab you in from a distance, and she does her little striker pose when she wins, so that's pretty cool. Then we have Lily, who is a Mexican girl from T-Hawk's tribe. She's pint-sized, and she fights with 2 like weird clubs, and her moves are a mixture between using wind attacks, using the clubs, and also, using some of T-Hawk's moves and everything. Then we have Marissa. Marissa is the one all the guys want, I guess. Marissa is a huge, muscular woman that she kind of has like a gladiator motif, and she has kind of I guess she really loves fighting. She wants to fight strong people and all that stuff. It's like, come at me with all your heart, And
Marissa wants Snoop.
Yeah, she wants to marry Zangief because she's impressed by his muscles.
Yeah. I so ship those 2, man.
Yeah. And then we got Jamie, who's kind of a breakdancing kid and everything, and he drinks sake or something. He drinks something, and the more he drinks it, the more powerful and faster or whatever. Yeah, he probably drinks some of that. And you get
I was saying with Jamie drunken fist style or whatever.
Yeah.
I get stronger and more faster too.
Yep. And then we have JP, who's a very suave businessman guy with a cane, and his powers look very similar to Psycho Power, which makes people do the whole kind of thing. Oh, I forgot. DJ is also back in the game, so that's kind of cool. And let me see. So the DLC characters, Rashid came back. Alkuma's came back sometime this year. Not quite yet. Aki is
coming.
Yeah, Aki is the woman that fights with poison, and she's sorts of fun. So she also does poison. She also has these sharp claws, and she's also a contortionist. Her body bends in ways that look painful and everything. And then we got Ed also coming back, so we'll see what his storyline is there. So those are the 4 characters so far until whenever they announce season 2 or something, So yeah, we'll start with Ricky. Given that roster, which character would you start off with that you would want to see in future DLC?
Poison.
Yep, there we go. Any particular reason?
No.
Okay. Wendy, who would you go with?
Vega.
Vega, there we go.
I miss my Vega.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go for Sakura because we need Sakura in the game, and I'm also curious what a Sakura would look like when she's in her 20s or so, because she has to be in her 20s by now in that storyline, Johnny, what are your thoughts? What character would you want to see as DLC?
Poison.
Yeah, but someone else that's not already taken by...
That's the obvious pick.
Yeah, but Poison has to be Poison.
Yeah, I know, but we're picking different people, Johnny.
Hey, don't king shame a motherfucker.
Okay, let me see who should come back. Who's actually missing in Street Fighter 6? I'm kind of...
Well,
So you're missing all the Street Fighter 3 and Alpha characters so far.
I was gonna say if I had a second pick,
Yeah, you got 5 picks. We're just going one by one.
Okay, well, I don't even know that many characters. Holy shit, there's 5 characters. No,
okay, we'll do 3 each to make it easier.
Yay!
No, because if he was definitely going to say Poison, then I would say another obvious one to me would be Elena for sure.
Oh, there we go.
Well, can I go ahead and give my other 2?
Yeah.
Laura and Ibuki.
Oh, there we go.
And why not Honda for my third one?
Oh, he's already in there.
Honda's already there.
I missed that.
All the original Street Fighter 2.
The side effect of the health potion is sometimes you have short-term memory loss.
Oh God.
This health potion may not be for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, why not bring back the original T-Hawk?
There you go.
I was thinking about him too.
And who else, Johnny?
Who else? Okay. My mind is kind of blurred out because there's so many games that this person came back, this person then.
Well, just blurt out names and I'll tell you who's back and who's not.
I don't know, Yin and Yang, one of them.
Yeah, you could do that.
One of the Yang brothers.
You could just cheat and say Yin and Yang, and that'll be your characters.
It was pretty much just 2 sides of Phanon, in my opinion.
Oh, dude, Hagar.
There you go.
Hagar.
Oh yeah, that would have been good.
Gotta keep that Final Fight stuff going. Oh, you know what they got? Oh my God, you know what I wish they would do? They need to start putting in some of the Saturday Night Slam Masters characters.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh man, put in some of the guys from Saturday Night Slam Masters. Because Hagar was in Saturday Night Slam Masters, a playable character.
Yeah.
So you got those other characters. Zoe agrees with me. She's marking out over here. My dog Zoe, she loves that idea. She'd probably even only see me play it once. Right, Zoe? Yeah.
So my characters, I'm going to choose, because if we got T-Hawk in there, I'm going to choose Fei Long. So we have all 4 of the new challengers. And I'll also pick Sagat, because for me, I'm thinking like, whenever Ryu was there, Sagat should be there too. I think Sagat's like always striving to be better and stronger than Ryu. He no longer has the whole I want to kill you mentality, but he does have the I want to be your rival and keep getting better and stronger, that mentality. So I want to see Sagat come back. So far we got
that's a great pick because he was there from the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
So not have him definitely feels like a disservice. So I have my own reasons for my picks, but he feels like maybe the most obvious pick. Got to give credit where it's due on that one. That's a slam dunk for sure. He goes back to the beginning. He needs to be in it. Absolutely.
Okay. I can think of a 4th one now.
Who?
Eagle. Only reason. I just always really liked Eagle. That's all.
Yeah, Eagle from Street Fighter 1.
Yep.
And also Capcom vs. SNK 2. He had a little comeback there.
Gunlock from Saturday Night Slam Masters. Because I think he was like supposed to be in one version. I think he was supposed to be like Guile's cousin or something some shit. Yeah. So yeah.
I think the stupid Street Fighter movie game revealed that one of those generic Bison soldiers, the one you played in the game, is secretly Gunlock Guile's brother or some nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Bullshit.
So yeah,
I agree with that one.
The Gunlock from Saturday Night Slam Masters.
Yeah.
He's a slam. But like I said, anybody from Saturday Night Slam Masters would fit into Street Fighter perfectly. One of these days, we got to talk about Saturday Night Slam Masters. That's another game I'm not great at, but as a wrestling fan and a fan of fighting games, even as a kid, I had a really great time with that game. I have it. I'm proud to have it in my collection. Saturday Night Slam Masters. Capcom had a lot more going on than just Street Fighter. We got to give credit where credit's due. Saturday Night Slam Masters did a great job of being mostly a fighting game, but also a wrestling game. and it merged the two perfectly, and it exists in Street Fighter canon because Hagar is a playable character. So
Yeah.
to me, it would only be natural to start bringing in as many characters from Saturday Night Slam Masters as possible. You already got Zangief as a pro wrestler. Why not get these other guys in there, like Gunlock and all these other dudes? Makes sense to me.
Yeah, my extra choice, I'm also going to pick Remy from Street Fighter 3 because now that these games are more story-based, we can finally find out how this random emo kid has sonic booms and flash kicks.
Yeah, we can finally answer some questions about poison, for example.
What do we need to answer about him? Her, him, her.
Well, I mean, that's one of the questions.
Guys.
Right? That's one of the things. The opportunity in a more story-driven game to play as Poison would offer the opportunity to answer a lot of questions. That's all I'm saying.
Johnny, do you have any final character to add? Because we all added one more. Think of some of your favorites from other games.
I was trying to think of a Final Fight character to add. I'm wondering if maybe they could even add Cardos from Final Fight 2.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. See?
There you go.
So many. That's the cool
thing. I already have Lucia, so why not add Cardos?
That's the cool thing, man. Capcom and the way they very cleverly but subtly worked the Final Fight mythos and the Slam Masters mythos and the Street Fighters mythos together. There's so many opportunities there for inclusion of different characters, and they all make sense in their own way. So, you know, as long as they feel up to the challenge every couple of years of giving us a new game, you know, or at least more DLC, there's really no limit to how far they can go. They could go really obscure with some of these characters and it would still make sense in its own way, you know. They could include like any of the background enemies from Final Fight or Final Fight 2 or Final Fight 3. They could do any of the kind of things like that. And you know, that makes sense. So they were very smart in what they were able to do here. So I definitely give them a lot of credit for how they were able to create a lore very quietly in its own sense. And I mean, even through the crossover games, you also have some stuff like Darkstalkers and rival schools even being included in that. So yeah, I mean, they definitely sown some seeds, let's say. Yeah. They did a great job.
All right.
Yeah, but we pretty much covered the most we can before going too much because like Ricky said, the Marvel vs. Capcom games, that's got to be its own separate thing. Especially if we go back and start off with the original like X-Men Children of Atom that started the whole thing.
Yeah, because we talked about making that part of it, and it was like, and even doing my notes, I was like, no, the versus games, the Capcom versus games, the X-Men games, the Marvel games, the versus games, they need to be their own thing, absolutely, because there's so much there. And it's definitely part of Street Fighter lore, 1,000%, but it's also a huge part of the evolution of the Capcom fighter as a whole. So it really needs to be given its own spotlight, I would think. So that's definitely going to be its own awesome, awesome video to look forward to. I can't wait to be a part of that. I've only played a couple of those, but I showed off last time. I actually have the Saturn versions of some of those versus games, you know. Some of them are imports. I love that they're still out there to buy and play and shit like that. But yeah, that's definitely something to look forward to. Even on the subject of Street Fighter, though, there's a couple things we only touched on briefly that maybe we could do in the future, like the comic books. Like we talked about Ken. And remember that comic book where somebody sent Ryu Ken's scalp in a box? Like, holy shit. Remember that?
The Malibu comics.
The comic was so bad that in the final issue of it, they had to publish this long-ass note that says, yeah, Capcom got really mad at us for our direction with this story, and they pulled it from us. So we're sorry, but this is it. And, sorry for wasting your time. We thought we were doing good, but apparently we suck. Goodbye.
And they made Chun-Li look like a man. Chun-Li was ugly.
Yeah.
The thing is, that was the first That was the first Street Fighter comic book. So that's some of the very first spin-off media. So I remember it, and I remember it for all the wrong reasons, but it was definitely memorable.
I was still in high school there, and I remember these two friends of mine that were both into comics and into Street Fighter. And you know, back then the whole Super Nintendo thing, we were talking about whatever strategies we found and whatever, you know. But the thing is, what can I say? They both had the exact opposite reaction to it. When I showed them the Street Fighter comic, I brought it to school. One dude was like, "Oh shit, this is fucking awesome. This is badass. They got blood and uppercuts and the whole shit, man. Like you got Balrog and Ken, they're fucking each other up, yo, you know, that kind of crap."
But then the last issue was like some superhero shit that had nothing to do with Street Fighter at all, and it was like, what the hell is this
But
even?
anyway, so this one dude was stoked. This other dude was like, the fuck is this shit? Get this shit out of here. Like, that's just supposed to be Balrog. That's supposed to be Ryu. Man, get that shit fucking awful eyesore art out of here.
And remember, this is why I do not like Guile. Well, I don't like that Guile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the third issue, and this is like, I guess it was too late because, you know, like you said, they were probably planning on going where, but then they just stopped it. But the third issue was wasted because one of their superheroes named the Ferret, which looks like fucking Aquaman with claws, was fighting against Honda.
Yeah, like
it came out of nowhere there.
In the final issue, they even did a thing. They kind of explained where some of the story would have gone if they kept publishing, but yeah, it was very abruptly canceled because it was very bad.
Yeah, and it was weird too. There was this random woman there that I guess she was like either living with or training under Master, I guess Shang Long, just back then, whatever. Which, by the way, what was the deal with Shang Long long ass fucking claws? The hell was that shit about? You know. But anyways, he fell ill or something. And she blamed Ryu, so she's like, "Oh, I'll get my revenge on Ryu," which of course we never got to see that. But it's also like you're not in the game, so why should we care? You know. But that was random.
I mean, you know, I definitely want to do a whole video on that kind of stuff. The comics, the action figures, you know, the little 3 3/4 inch guys, and because as easy as it is to dismiss all that stuff now, we look back on it and we smirk at it and we're like, Jesus Christ, what the hell? But it was important in context as a symbol of how huge Street Fighter had already become as a brand even then after less than 2 years on the market as Street Fighter 2. The first game was what it was, but Street Fighter 2, with less than 2 years on the market, they already had cartoon show and comic books and this other spin-off media. Whether it was good or bad, that's a conversation that we're definitely going to have. But at the same time, it goes to show just how popular the entire concept of Street Fighter was, that all this stuff was being rushed to market, even if some of it needed better quality control. But yeah, all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, this Street Fighter thing, we have to do a comic book, we have to do a cartoon show, and we have to do a movie, and we have to do more, and all of this. So we have to do action figures and all of these things. It happened so fast. And yeah, a lot of it sucked as a result of that, or at least could have been better. But at the same time, it goes to show you they wouldn't have rushed all these things to market if Street Fighter wasn't such a juggernaut in 1991, 1992. Yeah. Like you have to put these things in context. We can look back at them now and say, okay, maybe certain of these things, the movie absolutely could have been better. The cartoon show absolutely could have been better. The toys could have been better. All these things could have been better. That comic book, that the scalp in the box does it for me. Like, what a way to go out. That is probably the best way I love the.
I
I love
remember
the.
the I forgot if it was either EGM because it's a video game or it was Wizard magazine to talk about comic. One of the two had like interviews or something, and they're saying that yeah, this comic was gonna have like the ultra violence that kids love. In fact, the story is so epic, one of the Street Fighters may not even survive. I'm like, damn, this shit getting hardcore. The fuck's going on, you know? Because remember,
Yeah.
this comic book came out during the era of extreme. You know?
And it ended literally with an apology from the publishers. What can you do? But I gotta say, like I said, it just goes to show you. They definitely rushed it out with very little quality control. We will definitely talk in depth about the comic books, the cartoon show. We talked a little bit maybe about the cartoon show, but we'll talk more. The action figures we didn't really touch on, but that's something to talk about for sure. All these things happened simply because Street Fighter out of nowhere was so popular. I remember there was a time when you could walk into Burger King and play Street Fighter 2. Okay, they would have a Street Fighter 2 kiosk in the middle of fucking Burger King. So it goes to show you how big an impact it had, right? So
was it like can you have a can I have a Whopper please? Sure you can. Like
Sure,
no,
you can.
well, you remember in like 2003 or so, McDonald's had that deal where they had GameCubes set up in there.
Yeah.
They
These had like crap like
no,
that.
back in the early 90s, some of the fast food places would have like an arcade set up. Like they'd have one or two cabinets. So the Burger King where we went to, they happen to have a Street Fighter 2 cabinet. That was the first place I played it, actually. The first place I ever played Street Fighter 2 was at Burger King.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show you how prevalent it was. And it had just come out. It had just come out. That goes to show you the confidence that they had in the brand and the game as a whole. And look what it became. That's what we're talking about for the last however many hours, the first video and right now. Street Fighter is a juggernaut. Absolutely. Even somebody like me who barely can handle a fighting game, it's touched my life and changed my life. It's been a big part of my life, even just through osmosis at times, but also, I talked about the fact that, the first time I beat Street Fighter 2 by accident because my buddy was so pissed off that he kept dying on M. Bison. He just was like, I'm taking a break. You mess with it. And I beat him on the first try with Chun-Li, and my buddy was so pissed off because I didn't know what the fuck I was even doing. But yeah, these are memories that last a lifetime. And I have a lot of fond memories of Street Fighter, even as the most casual of casual fans. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun for me talking about all the different games. And we're definitely going to make time at some point in the future, I hope, to talk about some of the spin-off stuff we did talk about a little bit. But yeah, I want to talk about the comic books and the action figures, because those are two things I love. It's comic books and action figures. And to me, that's a sign that you've made it, is when your brand has a comic book and action figure. And they got there, and they got there in a hurry. So yeah, we'll talk about the Malibu comics. We'll talk about those little G.I. Joe Street Fighter guys. Yeah, that's my hope. That's my dream. So hopefully we'll get back together on this real soon.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think we pretty much covered all the things here because, we got the latest one, Street Fighter 6. We'll see. The other thing I'm curious about, and it is kind of annoying for me because when they first announced Street Fighter 6 and they leaked the roster, like the roster already included Rashid, Ed, Akuma, and Aki. I didn't know they were DLC. And now it's disappointing to find out that they're DLC. And the DLC is very spread out, like months apart. So, like, we don't know any new characters until we get past this. We still got Ed coming out, and then we got Akuma coming out. I don't know when, probably like in the fall or some shit. So for me, I'm more anxious, like, okay, we already know who these guys are. Let's get with season 2 and be surprised, like, who else is coming? Like, who's the surprise? Because that's for me what always interests me about the season's pass is not knowing, who's going to be. You buy season pass, it's like, okay, you're going to get Akuma and these 4 other mystery slots. Who are they? And with this one, they dropped the ball on that because we know who they are. We're just waiting for them to release them. Let's move on to the surprises. And
well, there's definitely still a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to hear from everybody as we wrap up, I touched on my experience a little bit. What I'd like to hear, since we talked about in the last video, the very beginning of the Street Fighter franchise, in this one, we talked about the more recent, from 4, 5 through 6. I talked a little bit about my experience. Let's talk just in general sense. How did Street Fighter impact and change you as a person, change your life? Let's talk a little bit about that. Because like I said, even as a very casual person, I would be lying if I said Street Fighter didn't change my life and leave a lot of very powerful memories. So let's just leave, I think, on that note. How did Street Fighter how did it change you as a person?
I don't know about him as a person, but I mean, but it's something that I'll always love. I mean, that was the game that got me playing more in the arcade. That's what got me more into like the SNES. I mean, that was the game that had me more interested because beat 'em ups didn't have much nuance. It's just beat 'em up and get to the last stage. And sometimes the games are so hard, and like Wendy says, you got to sell them mortgages and have enough quarters. You don't get to see the ending a lot of times. You only play until whatever. But like with fighting games, especially Street Fighter, it was like, when it was new, it's like, dude, how do you do the Hadoken? How do you do the uppercut thing? Which character is faster? Which one's stronger? Oh, this dude's weak to this and that. So that was interesting, So that was the main game. I think of all the games that we played, like, like till wee hours of the night, it was Street Fighter. It was those. And I was curious at the new versions. I was curious when they had new characters and they had like the alpha versions and stuff like that. And it's just,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking for, man. It's those fundamental memories. Like I said, the first time I played Street Fighter 2 was at Burger King. Uh, at one point, my dad's cousin owned a diner. And in the lobby or the vestibule of the diner, they had a Street Fighter 2 cabinet. And every day after school, my dad would take me to his cousin's diner in Sayreville, New Jersey. And while I was waiting for my food, I would play Street Fighter 2 on the cabinet in the vestibule. And I would have a great time, even when I was getting my ass kicked. Those are some of the most powerful memories of my childhood. Just like the first few times I played it on the Super Nintendo. And this comes, again, from the most casual of casual fans of fighting games as a whole. But having said that, I have played quite a lot, and I've spent quite a lot of time playing them. But I mean, I don't get serious about it. I can't play against people. But, it's still fun for me. And Street Fighter has always had an appeal to me. The first time I saw it, the graphics and the music, the attract screen in the arcade was just something special from an arcade machine. I was the kind of kid who would drop a quarter in anything, but seeing Street Fighter,
I had to have quarters for that,
right? But I even as a young child, 9 years old, seeing Street Fighter 2, you knew it was special, and you knew it wasn't like any other game that you can go to the arcade and play. There had been fighting games, but nothing like Street Fighter 2. And for as much as we talk about all the games in the series, and we talk about other games in the genre, it'll never be overstated how important Street Fighter was to the evolution of that genre. It didn't so much necessarily create the genre, but it perfected the genre, and it made it something that people now make money playing. They can go out and win tournaments and make very real money doing. And, it's not my thing, but God, what a world we live in, right? And bless them for that. And it wouldn't be possible without the evolution that Capcom was willing to make at every step of the way, from Street Fighter to Street Fighter 2, from 2 to Alpha and EX and to 3 and to 4, 5, and 6. They've always known how to keep it the same, but move it 2 steps forward at the same time. And that's why, whether it was a hiatus of 10 years or whatever, Street Fighter always endures, and it always comes back. Because there's just something so fundamentally good about it that we're always ready for it when it comes back.
The thing about
And
4 is I was surprised he even made part 4. Well, first of all, I'm surprised he made part 3 because it was all the Street Fighter 2 sequels and junk. But the thing is, instead of part 3, they made Alpha. Then they made 3. And then the surprising thing is after they made 3, they went back and made Alpha 3. You know what I mean? I was like, what the fuck? Really? Alpha 3? And then like when they finally announced like Street Fighter 4, I was like, well goddamn, they finally made 4, and
well, but I love it all. I mean, playing the anniversary collection, which again, Wendy, you're in for a treat when you go, when Mark brings it down for you. That anniversary collection, wow, what a gift to the fans. As I said, even as somebody who can barely play a fighting game, Street Fighter is a franchise that I can sincerely say I love. And that's the truth. I've got a lot of very real, emotional, fundamental memories of the franchise, whether it be playing it in the vestibule of my uncle's diner on the arcade machine, or playing it at home on my Super Nintendo, or playing it on my Xbox One on the 30th anniversary collection. And then all the way up to today playing Street Fighter 4. It's it's something that people are drawn to. There's just something about the way Street Fighter exists, the way it looks, the way it plays, the presentation, and every time they do it, it's familiar but new. It's everything great about fighting games. It's everything great about video games. What else can you say? And that's coming from somebody who can barely fucking play them. But God knows I love
yeah. Yeah.
I have to agree with that one about being familiar and new. Like I was saying, I don't really play many fighting games. I don't play so much of anything because it was either school in the way, work in the way, or both. So with me, like when I play a Street Fighter game and I pick a character that I played in the original Street Fighter 2, I just still can do some of the moves because I come back from memory. So I just, I just do it. I just figure, okay, where's the punch button? Where's the kick button? Okay, let me do this and that. Oh, I lost. Oh, well, whatever. But yeah.
Ryu is still Ryu, Ken is still Ken, Guile is still Guile. They just have a few extra wrinkles to them each time out. But, you can still, to a point, fall back on the very basics that you remember from all those years ago, and you can still pick your character and get through it.
Yeah, for the most part, I believe. But going back to the original question, I would have to say for me with the Street Fighter 2 thing, I think mostly for me will be music. Because like even with the original, okay, and my best memory of Street Fighter 2 is I originally played in the arcade, World War, because my dad used to know a guy to work in the arcade. He used to give me free tokens. So, and all that stuff. So that's how I could play sometimes.
Real quick, I got to shout that out because my dad, right, he used to attend bar on the weekends for extra money on like Saturday nights. And at a place called Pete's in Sayreville, which burned down, but it was in South River. Well, it burned down. But anyway, so my dad used to attend bar, and the owner, Pete, he used to always give me quarters to play his arcade machines. He had an arcade machine. I don't remember what game it was, but I remember I played it all the time. I was only 4 of those, so I can't remember. But he had a pinball machine too. So I remember the guy would always come around and give me quarters to play those games while my dad was working, because I spent a lot of Saturday nights there as a 4 or 5-year-old kid. Spent a lot of nights at the bar. Woo! But yeah, so you reminded me of that when you said that. Pete himself, my dad's boss, he'd be like, "You having a good time, kid?" And he'd drop me like $5 in quarters or whatever. I didn't know it was coming out of my dad's fucking paycheck. I didn't know that part, but I definitely had a lot of fun. I definitely had a lot of fun. But yeah, those were the days, man. See, I grew up with video games. That's why, to me, I get emotional talking about all this stuff, because video games are some of my earliest memories. I was born in '82, and I remember from right at the beginning, we always had an Atari, because the crash happened in '83. So I think my dad got a bunch of games and consoles from his friends, because my earliest memories, we always had an Atari, and we always had a ColecoVision. So I remember my dad's friends would just drop off boxes of games and controllers and shit. So I was drowning in video games by the time I was 3 years old. So it's something I always grew up with. So that's why whenever we do one of these videos and we talk about a series or a franchise or whatever, not only do I really love talking about the history, but I get emotional talking about the history because to me it's something very fundamental. Video games are part of my physical DNA. I could beat Donkey Kong before I could write my own name. So, even something like Street Fighter that I'm not particularly well versed in or good at, you know, it takes me 2 seconds to find those memories again of being that 9-year-old kid. And there's something very real in that. There's something very primal in that I think speaks to all of us.
What was I saying again? Oh yeah, so yeah, I used to play Street Fighter 2 there, but what really got me into Street Fighter, well, when I was a kid, because I finally had a Super Nintendo. My aunt for Christmas one year brought me Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, and I played the crap out of it. So I really enjoyed that. And when I think back to Street Fighter, I always to go back to that version because it's like, it's kind of a bias for me. So, and I always was into the music for that game. Not as much as the original Street Fighter 2, but yeah, some of the themes I really, 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 really enjoyed from that game. And I've liked it, hearing newer versions of it, like, over years. So I mostly got drawn to the music more than the games themselves after a certain point. Because like I said, with Street Fighter 2, it's like, okay, we got a new Street Fighter 2, okay, Street Fighter 3. So that was just like my thing. But yeah, for me, it's Super Street Fighter 2. It was nice because my aunt gave me that game. So I always treasured it because it was rare for me to get video games outside of my parents. And I only got stuff like that at Christmas. So, no, not take that back. She got it for me. She gave it to me for my birthday. That was the rarity because I usually never would have gotten an expensive gift like that for a birthday gift. That was always reserved for maybe a Christmas gift, not a birthday gift. So that's why Super Street Fighter was kind of very special to me.
That's
and
awesome.
Of course, being able to play the original Street Fighter 2 in the arcade sometimes didn't get far, but I tried. And of course, when I was in Japan, I finally got to play the first game, and I did have fun playing that game with those terrible stiff controls. But at least I was comfortable while I was doing it. Because, in Japan, the arcade, you can sit down and play. Only downside is that they smoke. What about you, Johnny?
Okay, so from my memories from Street Fighter 2, I think it first started, I guess, I think it started in our local Mexican little grocery shop, and they had the little Street Fighter 2 arcade. So hey, it's kind of interesting. You see the joysticks, like holy shit, what's this weird concept that you push? You gotta move it up so you could jump up and push down to duck down, and oh, you have to hit the back button to block, and that time that concept was very, very foreign. And then you have 6 buttons. What the hell? For example, comparing to beat 'em up, like Final Fight, for example, all you need is just 2 buttons. And then Street Fighter 2 is holy smokes, you got 6 buttons to worry about. But slowly but surely, you get used to the concept, and it's pretty cool. And it's kind of it became a thing of its own. It got to the point where there's just so many competitors making their own version of Street Fighter 2,
Street Fighter Rainbow.
Yup. And
all of a sudden you had your Art of Fighting, your Eternal Champions, your Fatal Fury, all that stuff.
Yeah. But Street Fighter 2 was really, I think it became bigger and better when it had the home consoles, especially when Super Nintendo first started with the Street Fighter 2 games, because especially back then, a lot of conversions of arcade games were not that great. But Street Fighter 2 was still very close to the actual source. So that was actually a very successful game. It was a very successful conversion, and I think it actually helped Nintendo became like even more popular than what it was thanks to Street Fighter 2.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they had the exclusive rights to Street Fighter 2 for a few years.
Mhm.
So that definitely gave them an edge in the market because if you wanted to play Street Fighter 2 at home, which people did, you had to play it on Super Nintendo. But then when Genesis finally was able to put their own version out, it was awesome, but it was a couple of years after the fact by that point.
Yeah. But generally speaking, I take the Street Fighter franchise in general, like kind of like the beginning of all the fighting games, you know. It's the beginning of the concept of fighting games, you know, which is the reason why, you know, later you have the Mortal Kombat, you have the Fatal Furies, Art of Fighting, uh, Tekken,
World Heroes, definitely World Heroes.
and, you know, definitely Fighter's history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were other fighting games, but
Oh, and Clay Fighters, of course, Clay Fighters have to be in there too in the list, you know.
Yes, Johnny.
There had been other fighting games, but you know, Street Fighter, they had that kind of crossover appeal. They didn't create the genre, but it's like they might as well have, you know. There's not really a lot before Street Fighter 2 that's even worth talking about, let's be honest. As far as the fighting game genre, there were other games, but yeah, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
There was Street
But,
Fighter
you know,
2, and it was everything else before it, right?
but the other thing I would also like to add is that Street Fighter has such a huge cultural impact, like worldwide. Like this, like, you know, there's a lot of games from Japan that don't make it to the States and many other countries. And Street Fighter 2 was one of the rare games, I would say, that successfully crossed over, was able to get super like international, like every part of the world, everybody knows, you know, what Street Fighter 2 is, like what the Street Fighter franchise is. So that's amazing because not every game does that successfully. And Street Fighter was able to cross over from Japan to the States and the rest of the world, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just something universal about it, whether it's the music, like Jupi said, or the gameplay, or the art style, or all of it together. You know, like I said, even as a neophyte, I'm looking at my shelf right now. I'm looking at the stack of games I still have to put into alphabetical order on my shelf. And there's a lot of fighting games. There's a lot of Street Fighter games. There's a lot of Capcom fighters. So even as somebody who's barely involved in it, yeah, there's just something very universal that Street Fighter in particular. And it's interesting that Johnny mentioned Street Fighter 2 so much because that really is the seminal game. Street Fighter existed. Street Fighter 2 perfected the concept. So that's really what people talk about is the genesis of all of it. But yeah, from there, they've only grown. And it's an amazing thing. Having grown up with it, I feel like some of the younger kids maybe don't get it because they weren't there for it. But oh yeah, watching it evolve from that very primal essence into what it is now has been a lot of fun to watch. It's been really cool.
Well, yeah, I think we kind of covered it all for now. Like we said, we'll come back to the comic books, like the Malibu ones and the way better Udon comics. They do a very good job with the Street Fighter story. And
yeah, my wife loves those.
What now?
My wife loves those. I've only read a couple of them.
Oh, they're pretty cool. But they do a good job of filling in all the blanks between Street Fighter 2 and 3 and all that kind of junk.
So
but anyway,
that's what I saw in the little bit that I did read. That's what I did notice. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up for now. But we'll get back to it definitely. There's still more to talk about Street Fighter. And of course, with Street Fighter 6, we'll update you on the latest DLCs, whatever characters, whatever else. And like I said, in a year or two, we'll come back to this episode and we'll see who was right and who was wrong on the characters that came back for DLC. Yeah. So anyways, guys, this is America's #2 cure for insomnia. This is Mark Rodriguez signing off here.
This is Wendy, also known as Jupi-chan or Ninja Jupi, whatever you want to call me, and I look forward to maybe being able to play Street Fighter 6 and Street Fighter 5 proper soon. I want to do World Tour mode, hint, hint, because that'll be more alley and more fun for me. And
And Rikki Roxx got us under, Lord of Rock and Roll, icon of old school. Getting ready to sign off here, reminding you to check out the YouTube channel Rikki Roxx from the Vault. I talk about action figures. Recently, I talked about the He-Man Through the Ages box set and the Superman and Clark Kent box set from Mattel. Pretty soon, I'll be talking about some other stuff, some Batman stuff, some wrestling stuff, a lot of cool stuff. Check it out on the tubes. Gotta believe, brother, I'm putting it out there for all of y'all. And it's been a lot of fun here on the podcast. As I said, even as somebody who is not that great at these types of games, I love talking about them because they're a huge, huge part of my life. And you guys give me the opportunity to do that. So thanks so much for having me here on the podcast. That leaves only one person, the one and only Witness Protection himself. Take it home, brother. From your own
The
disclosure.
Shotty Rodriguez. See you next time, guys.